All right, let's dive into the explosive pilot of Scandal. This is where it all began, where we first learned that in the high-stakes world of Washington, D.C., every crisis can be handled, every secret has a price, and Olivia Pope is always the one holding the receipt. Right out of the gate, the show tells you exactly what it's about. It gives us this word, fixer, but it makes one thing crystal clear. In this town, that title belongs to one person and one person only, the legendary Olivia Pope. So, how do we get into this crazy world? Well, it's not through Olivia, but through the eyes of a very smart, very terrified Quinn Perkins. Imagine this. You think you're on a pretty bad blind date, but it turns out you're actually in a job interview for the most intense firm in the city, Olivia Pope and Associates. Quinn is immediately thrown into the deep end and meets the crew, this sort of broken but brilliant family who call themselves gladiators in suits. You've got Harrison, the smooth-talking lawyer, Abby, the investigator who never gives up, Huck, the mysterious ex-spy tech genius, and Steven, Olivia's loyal second. And of course, leading the whole operation, the commander herself, Olivia. And talk about a first day on the job. Quinn is immediately caught in the crossfire of two massive crises. This is the show's signature move, right? The client of the week versus the big overarching scandal. On one hand, a war hero is accused of murder. On the other, an aide says she's sleeping with the President of the United States. No big. Okay, so let's start with that first case. It doesn't just call, it literally bursts through their door. A decorated war hero, Sully St. James, stumbles into their office covered in blood, insisting he didn't kill his girlfriend. Now, all the evidence, and I mean all of it, is screaming that he's guilty. It looks really, really bad. But Olivia Pope, she operates on a completely different level. She takes one look at the guy and decides to take the case, based on her one infallible tool, her gut. And just like that, OPA has a new client. This whole situation gives us our first real look at the OPA playbook. Step 1, Olivia's gut says go. Step 2, the team starts digging like their lives depend on it. Then, of course, you get the big setback. Sully's fingerprints are all over the murder weapon. But that's where they do their best work, pushing past what seems impossible to find what's real. And of course, they find it. They find an alibi that completely clears his name. But here's the twist. The alibi reveals a secret so personal that Sully, this American hero, would rather spend the rest of his life in prison than have it come out. So you gotta ask, what could possibly be worse than that? The alibi is a surveillance tape, and it shows Sully kissing another man. See, his murdered girlfriend wasn't his lover. She was his best friend, his beard, the one person in the world who knew he was gay. That's the secret he was protecting. But this is a classic Olivia Pope move. She doesn't just get you off the hook, she changes the whole story. She convinces Sully that his secret isn't a weakness. He holds a press conference in full uniform, clears his name, and stands proudly with his partner. She turns a career-ending scandal into a moment of absolute triumph. So one fire is put out, but remember that two-front war? Well, the other one, the one at the White House, is about to become a full-blown inferno. This is the scandal that's going to change everything. The call comes from none other than the president's chief of staff, Cyrus Bean. He needs his old friend Olivia to do what she does best, make a problem go away. And that problem has a name, Amanda Tanner, a former White House aide who's telling people she's having an affair with President Fitz Grant. Whoa, so if you thought Olivia was all about wearing the white hat and saving heroes, think again. We see a whole other side of her here. She confronts Amanda and just verbally destroys her. It's so vicious and personal that it leaves Quinn wondering if they're even the good guys anymore. But Amanda doesn't just disappear. After a terrible suicide attempt, she's desperate and has nothing to lose. And this is where Quinn starts to trust her own gut, insisting to Olivia that this girl is telling the truth. She begs Olivia to just hear one last thing. And here we go. This is the moment. This is the pivot point where the two storylines don't just intersect, they collide. Because we're all about to find out that for Olivia Pope, this was never, ever just another case. So you have to ask yourself, right? After Olivia has completely shut this girl down, threatened her, dismissed her, what on earth could Amanda Tanner possibly say to cut through all of that and finally make Olivia Pope believe her? 2 words, that's it. Amanda says the president calls her sweet baby. And with those 2 words, Olivia Pope's entire world just shatters. Because you see, Sweet Baby wasn't some random pet name he gave to Amanda. It was his pet name for Olivia. The scandal she was hired to fix, turns out it was her own. So, what do you do with information like that? If you're Olivia Pope, you march right into the belly of the beast. You go to the Oval Office to confront President Fitzgrant, and that professional wall between them just instantly crumbles. And then we get these flashbacks, right? And it all clicks. She ran his campaign. They had this passionate, secret affair, and it is definitely not over. Fitz corners her in the Oval, tells her he loves her, and kisses her. And at that exact moment, Cyrus Bean walks in, the very man who hired her to fix this mess. Now, for a split second, you see Olivia totally rattled. But she's still Olivia Pope. She pulls herself together, walks straight past Cyrus, and delivers a single sentence that is a complete and total checkmate. And mic drop. That's it. That's the declaration of war. She's not just switching sides, she is officially taking up arms against the most powerful man on the planet, who also happens to be the man she's in love with. You just have to appreciate the beautiful irony here. The one person in D.C. you hired to handle your scandal has just become the biggest scandal the White House has ever seen. The fixer is the problem. And that's the question this pilot leaves us with, the one the entire series is built on. How in the world do you handle a crisis when you are the crisis?